Hello? Can you eat rice if you have diabetes or prediabetes? And which rice is best for you? Or maybe you should remove it from your diet once and for all. That's the subject of today's video. Rice, one of the most basic and consumed foods in the world. Is it true that it's the big villain for diabetics and those who want a healthy lifestyle? Or is it just another myth circulating on the internet? What do you think? I'll try to answer the most frequently asked questions about rice. What are the differences between white, brown, parboiled, and black rice? Which is right for you? And how rice can and should fit into a healthy diet for those with diabetes. But that's not all. We're also going to talk about the famous rice diet, which revolutionized medicine at a time when there were still no effective drugs to treat diabetes. And at the end, I'll give you a tip on how to make rice an even healthier food for your body. So stay until the end and find out. But first, enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss out on our health tips. And share this video with as many people as possible on your social networks. Because on this channel, we learn how to take care of our greatest asset, which is our health. Tell me, do you eat rice? Do you have diabetes or prediabetes? What part of the United States or the world are you from? Write in the comments below. Let's go! Do you think diabetics should avoid rice at all costs? It's time to dismantle one of the myths about diabetic food. The truth is that many of the popular recommendations about rice and blood sugar are based on half-truths and a lack of information. Today we're going to turn the tables. I'm going to show you that rice, when chosen and prepared correctly, is not only safe for diabetics, but can also be a valuable part of your diet. Don't fall for old myths. Stay with me and find out how you can enjoy rice without putting your health at risk. Why is rice considered the enemy of diabetics? Well, 100 grams of dry rice, this one, contains 78 grams of starch. Starch is a type of complex carbohydrate made up of chains of glucose linked together. Is it only rice that has starch? Potatoes, cassava, and wheat all contain starch. So if you swap rice for cornstarch, which is often used as a thickener in sauces, soups, puddings, pasta, mousses, ice cream, and other dishes, for example, it could be even worse because around 98% of cornstarch is starch. When you chew, your salivary glands and pancreas produce amylase. Amylase is responsible for breaking down starch into glucose. Glucose is the sugar that is in high concentration in the blood of diabetics. But let's go back a bit. We need carbohydrates. If you decide to eliminate all carbohydrates from your diet, you won't enjoy life. You'll live according to your diabetes. And that's not nice. That's why you shouldn't take rice, cornstarch, wheat, beans out of your diet. It's not just that. You have to know how to dose them. Keyword: moderation. Like everything else in life. Because white rice, the kind you eat, has a high glycemic index. What is the glycemic index? The glycemic index is a measure that shows how a food raises blood sugar. Foods with a high glycemic index cause a rapid rise in blood glucose, while foods with a low glycemic index release energy more gradually. White rice has a high glycemic index. It varies between 70 and 90, depending on the variety of rice and how you cook it. A glycemic index of up to 55 is considered low, and between 56 and 69 is considered moderate, and a high glycemic index is 70 or more. White rice has a high glycemic index. This means that it is digested quickly, causing spikes in blood glucose and insulin. But it's not just white rice. Boiled potatoes and white bread and cornstarch also fit in here. Does all rice have a high glycemic index? No. Brown rice has a moderate glycemic index, around 56, because it has more fiber. Opening a parenthesis here, brown rice is a complex carbohydrate. It has a whole grain, i.e., the husk, the bran, and the germ. That's why it's rich in fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Fiber slows down the digestion of starch, releasing energy more gradually, and also providing greater satiety. The problem with brown rice is arsenic, which can be harmful to health. White rice does not contain arsenic because it is refined. 86% of the calories in white rice come from carbohydrates. What about black rice? It's considered the healthiest of all. It has a low glycemic index, 46, is whole grain, so it has fiber and vitamins, and also has a very interesting antioxidant, anthocyanin, which will give it that black or purple color. Anthocyanin is found in blueberries, red fruits, acai berries, grapes, and red cabbage. Anthocyanin protects brain health by reducing the risk of dementia, but it also protects blood vessels and the heart. The problem with black rice is that it also contains arsenic and is the most expensive of the three. And 1 kilo of black rice costs a lot more on the market. Compare it to 1 kilo of brown rice and you'll see the difference. What about parboiled rice? What is parboiled rice? It's partially cooked rice. It is treated with hot water, steamed and dried. The difference is that it cooks faster, doesn't break down as much, is more resistant to breakage, and for diabetics, has a lower glycemic index 55. Therefore, the glycemic index of parboiled rice is lower than that of pure white rice. Well, the video was worth it for you because you've learned that you can have rice with a lower glycemic index. But look carefully. All the rices I've mentioned have a lot of carbohydrates. They all have a lot of starch. As I said, starch turns into glucose. If you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, reduce your portions. But it's black rice. But it's brown rice. They're all rice. If you eat too much, you'll gain weight and your blood sugar will get worse. But you can eat it. Don't feel guilty about it. And did you know there was a rice diet? Yes, the world goes through many dietary fads. This diet was created by a German doctor who fled Nazi Germany in the 1930s and ended up at Duke University here in the USA. It's a historic diet. In the 1930s and 1940s, people were dying of hypertension, called malignant hypertension, because there was no medicine for hypertension. And most people complain that hypertension drugs are super effective. The American president himself, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, died of malignant hypertension. This German doctor decided to follow a diet that he believed could help treat hypertension. And he created the rice diet, which was a restrictive diet of around 2,000 calories, which was basically rice and fruit, with almost zero salt, no animal protein, and no cholesterol. The diet was so restrictive that several patients were hospitalized for follow-up. And in an incredible 2-3 of the cases, the disease was reversed. It solved heart failure, visual problems, and even some cases of kidney problems. In the case of diabetics, 1/4 of diabetics had their diabetic retinopathy reversed, which is still difficult to achieve today, and many were able to stop using insulin. At the time I read this about the rice diet, I thought it was very interesting, but today I'm against restrictive diets. I don't think they work in the medium or long term. The ideal is to maintain a healthy diet with things that you can introduce into your diet and not exclude. For more than 10 years, the 2 best diets in the world have been diets that can be maintained over the long term. The DASH diet, which is for hypertensive patients, and the Mediterranean diet, which is rich in fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and low in sugar, salt, and red meat. And look, the Mediterranean diet has paella, which is made from rice. And there's an interesting trick you can do with rice to make it healthier. It's almost the same as what they do with parboiled rice. This technique can be especially useful for people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. If you cook the rice and let it cool overnight in the fridge, the starch in the rice will become more resistant, lowering the glycemic index of the rice and improving the intestinal flora. And this doesn't just apply to your rice, it goes for potatoes and pasta. Cooking them and then refrigerating them makes the starch molecules more compact, making them more difficult to digest. Therefore, your amylase won't be able to break down the starch into glucose as easily. And interestingly, you may already be doing this without knowing it. That food you made yesterday and are going to reuse today is worth it. And when the starch becomes resistant, it stays in the gut, becoming a prebiotic, meaning it will feed the good bacteria in your gut. My final tips. If you're diabetic, how should you eat rice? First, cut down a little on white rice. Start buying parboiled rice, brown rice, and, if it fits your budget, black rice. And if I like white rice, cook it and let it cool in the fridge to produce resistant starch. And if I prefer fresh loose rice, combine it with beans, lentils, linseed, chia, add more fiber, a greener dish, more vegetables, or more lean proteins. Both fiber and protein will slow down the absorption of glucose and make you feel full for longer. And look, reduce the portion. White rice has a lot of starch and no fiber. I know you want to eat more, but reduce the portion. Eat more beans. Season your dish with spices. Cinnamon tends to lower blood sugar a little, as do ginger and curry. And of course, as I always say here, do more exercise, monitor your blood sugar, and do everything you can to keep it within limits. Blood sugar should at least be below 7.0, or better still, below 6.5 or even lower. And if it's difficult to control, see an endocrinologist or a nutritionist. Do your best to maintain control and avoid complications. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, like it and share it with others. Almost everyone eats rice, so it's always interesting to know a bit more about this food. And comment in the comments with the word rice and I'll know you've got to the end. Always remember to consult a health professional for personalized advice, especially if you have pre-existing medical conditions. And what's the next video you're going to watch? I'll leave you with my special playlist on diabetes and also my video on the 7 foods to prevent and avoid stroke. Thank you very much for following me to the end, and may God bless us with health and life. And let's promote everyone's well-being together.